Welcome to Crowdfunding Comebacks,
a podcast for those creators and crowdfunders who don't always do things perfect the first time.
This podcast is for all those failed crowdfunding campaigns.
For those who were laughed at.
For those who were told to go out and get a real job.
This is for the fighters.
The underdogs.
It's the entrepreneurs who never quit.
This is Crowdfunding Comebacks.
Brought to you by LaunchLeader.com.
With your host, ZacBob.
All right, I have Michael Katz on from Blue Penguin Development, and he's going to talk a little bit about email marketing today. How's it going, Michael?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you do and what Blue Penguin Development is.
I'm a marketing consultant, and I specialize in working with solo professionals, people who work on their own. And I spent a long time focusing on email marketing, about 10 years doing email newsletters, which was really my primary thing. And now I do something kind of slightly broader, but still very much email-based.
So what's your thoughts on crowdfunding and how big of a game changer it is in like today's world?
I love, as you can tell by looking at me, I came at a time where it was much more traditional companies and marketing, and you had a job, and it was really difficult to do anything significant without a lot of risk and all of that. Back, as recently as 15 years ago. And so I just love the whole idea, and I'm a guy who had a regular job until 2000, of people just doing whatever they want to do. And what I like about crowdfunding is it's just, if you have a good idea that you can convince other people to jump on with, you can do it. So not that it's at all easy to do, but that the potential is there to do stuff. I'm all about say no to real jobs. That's great.
Do you think email marketing is a great way of getting people to jump on board for that campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the first time, I really clearly remember the first time I actually saw email. Because again, to have something from the outside world appear on your computer in 1995 was shocking. Your computer used to be this closed thing.
Yeah.
And I've looked to see anything that's sort of more compelling than email as a tool. And I've been waiting for a long time. I think email is incredibly useful, and I love that it scales. I love that it costs you nothing to add additional people who are interested. And that also, because other people find it so compelling, it's a great communication tool. So to me, email it's funny, it sort of had its low point when the whole spam thing was big and email's dead and then social media was going to kill it. I don't know. Everyone I know still checks email all the time. So anyway, I think email is a great tool, and I haven't seen anything that's going to get rid of it.
Well, what about social media? I mean, what about a Facebook like compared to an email address?
Well, I don't know why email and social media are always sort of pitted against each other, like you got to do one or the other. To me, social media is the best thing to happen to email, because email, is great, as we talked about, because it's compelling, it comes in your inbox, but it's not viral. But if you're producing content, what social media does, it now gives other people who receive your stuff an easy way to tell other people. Because it used to be, if I sent you something like a newsletter, maybe you'd forward it to 2 or 3 people if you were really excited about it. Now, tweet it, put it on Facebook, whatever, and now it goes to all of your people. So they work really well together. The reason I like email, though, more than just social media as a marketing tool is I own the email. I mean, you can, of course, get off my list, but I have a list of people with names. When I send a newsletter or an email, I get data about who opened it, time of day, if they clicked. I don't have nearly that control with social media. Social media is really much more like I've attended an event. And yes, there are often people that I know well there, but it's not happening on my terms as much. Facebook really scares me when I see a business who's abandoned, say, a website and said, we're just going to do it on Facebook because they change the rules tomorrow, and with it, you lose all that control. So I like the control that I have.
And Facebook is constantly changing. All right, so you've been email marketing for a while. So tell me, what is the things that you've learned from the very first, when you first started email marketing to present day? What's the thing that you wish you knew?
Well, I think I was too obsessed with quantity. I was very much I think it's natural that I wanted my list to grow and grow, and that's really what I was focusing on. How do I get as many people on the list and all that? And I know that's still the question. When I tell people I do email marketing, the number one question every time, how do I grow my list? And so all things being equal, a bigger list is better. The thing is, all things are not equal, because not everybody on your list has the same level of interest. And the more sneaky you are in getting them on your list, frankly, the higher the reward you give them to get them on your list, the less interested they tend to be in whatever it is you're doing. So getting people on your list for their own sake isn't really the goal. It's how do you get people who are interested in whatever you're doing. So what's shifted for me is, yeah, I'm still trying to grow my list, but I'm really focused on, first of all, being extremely upfront about when you get on my list, here's what's going to happen. I don't just, give you a free thing and next thing you know, you're on my list for the rest of your life. But also, I found that all the value comes from the people who really want to pay attention to what you're doing and like you and your stuff. So it's really, for me, much more about quality than quantity, which again, I didn't have that point of view in the beginning.
What's the best tip that you can give to a creator crowdfunder that's listening right now, hoping to grow their email list?
Well, in terms of activity, I found that maybe the most efficient thing to do is to offer some type of live or pre-recorded thing that I can get. Could be and on whatever your area of expertise is. So, we were using the example before of selling backpacks. You could do a 30-minute webinar on, hiking or something that relates to backpacks. You're not explicitly selling the thing, but you might say, I'm doing this 30-minute thing. In fact, I'm doing one like in a month on how to use snail mail, amazingly. But it's a really useful tool if you use it in an intelligent way. It's free. But as a result, I'll say to those people, if you get on this webinar, and I'll add you to my list, so I'm clear about that, you can watch this. I find what's great about that is I can do that from my office. I don't need permission. I don't need to be invited by some organization. It doesn't require a lot of money. It just requires promoting that free thing. But it's much easier to promote and to get friends and colleagues to promote a free thing like that than to say, tell everybody about my backpacks. That doesn't travel very far in terms of being viral.
Yeah.
I've got a free thing here on how to do, you could do one, how to do crowdfunding, how to do podcasts. I mean, the thing is, we all know so much stuff about different areas, and I find that's a very efficient way to grow. Second one, by the way, for people who do create content, is to let other people reuse your content.
Like guest hosting?
That's right. But see, my rule is I don't write stuff, and I don't write for anybody but myself. I mean, unless someone's hiring me. But you can take anything I've written and repost it. So my philosophy is sort of write once, share, use as many times as possible. So again, it could be podcast, could be written, it could be something else. It could be that free webinar. But if you go to somebody else or another organization that has a big list and say, hey, I'll do this for your audience. And all I ask is that when people sign up, they know that they're getting added to my list. So you've helped that other person, you've given them content, and they've given you some distribution in return. I think one mistake people make is they think, well, what do I know that anybody would want to know? But I've always found that anyone who knows enough to start a business or even have a focus or a product knows way more in depth on that than kind of the average person who might buy that product or business from them. And even though all this information is sort of out there on the internet, to have somebody be able to explain something to them, whatever it is valuable to people. And that can translate well into growing your list.
And I want to piggyback on that as well, because I know that for me, like when I first started off, I didn't know much about crowdfunding. So even if you may not know a lot, like for the example we're using, the duffel bag or the backpack, even if you don't know a lot about a backpack, I bet in 6 months when you start developing that bag, I bet that you'll know more than most people will know about backpacks. So I mean, I know it takes a while, but you'll have already established yourself as a person or maybe an influencer in that market.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Crowdfunding Comebacks, brought to you by LaunchLeader.com. Have you signed up for your LaunchLeader account yet? If not, what are you waiting for? And while you're at it, sign up for LaunchLeader.com's email list so you can get 5 free crowdfunding resources from yours truly. You can sign up for the email list at crowdfundingcomebacks.com. Happy crowdfunding. ZacBob, out.